Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. We're here today to talk about everything, almost everything anyways, that you need to know to prepare for fall quarter as a graduate student. We do have several attendees, looks like refreshing and getting signed in here. So as I go through this intro, hopefully the remaining of you guys will be able to join us and trickle in here. As well, after the meeting, some point, usually within 48 hours or so, so it may be Monday, we should get a recording of this up live for anyone that may have missed it or missed parts of it that would like to review them. My name is Brandon Shadle. I'm the Graduate Enrollment Coordinator here for our graduate programs, including our newly doctoral program, Doctor of Social Work. At any time during the presentation, if you have questions, you can ask them by typing in the chat box. This icon should be on the right-hand side or on mobile tablet devices. You may have to tap your screen to get that to show up and look for the chat icon or symbol. And that's where you'll be able to type in messages. I'll also try to share important links there as well. We will get to all of your questions at the end of this presentation. It should take about 20 minutes to go through the information. And if you'd like to download the slides that we'll be covering, you'll be able to do so here shortly once I hit the share button. And that should be on the right panel, or it may pop up somewhere on your device saying share, and then you can just kind of hover over it to download that PDF if you'd like to. So it looks like a few more have been able to join us here in the 2 minutes or so that we started, which is great. I'm going to kind of get into our first slide here as we go along, which is talking about MyWU. We call this MyWU. So you've probably already had some interaction with this, especially if you're an undergraduate student, you'll be familiar, but it's pretty important. So I wanted to make sure everyone is on the same page. MyWU is our online student portal, and this is where you can see your grades, your account balance, information about financial aid, and a record of account transactions. This is also where you begin the financial clearance process. Some of you may have already gone through this. Others hopefully are hearing about this and will be able to go complete that soon. This is also where you'll finalize registration. Most of you, though, starting your advisor for your graduate program will help get you registered for classes and get those all set up. Right now, the most important thing for you is to watch your to-do list. You can access this list in MyWU, and it lists the things that you have left to do before the year begins, and you can click on each item to learn a little bit more information, and there are usually instructions for how to complete the task or which department you may need to call that oversees that to-do item. Oftentimes they're admissions or enrollment related or student financial services related, and typically the other third one would be academics, such as registration or advisor hold, which is kind of placed onto everyone to make sure you get connected with the advisor first. Before I go I'll go a little bit farther, then I'll share the slides for you guys. As soon as you were accepted, though, to the university, you received login instructions for MyWU or MyWU, and were asked to choose a password. If you've never logged in or forgotten the information, you'll be able. It's pretty easy, but for most of you, the username is going to be your first dot last name and whatever password you chose, which can be rather lengthy with our new security requirements. So make sure to somehow remember that. Get a password manager if you don't have one. That's super helpful with so many different password requirements for different sites. If you do have trouble or problems logging in for MyWU, can't remember your password, like I said, maybe never picked one or need help, contact computer support by phone or email. Computer support's phone number is there, 509-527-2317, as well as support@wallawalla.edu, their email address. When you send them an email, though, include your name, WWID number, as well as your phone number in case they need to call you. For our younger students that have parents, helping, still actively involved in education, or those students joining us with spouses, computer support will only talk to students about their account info. So they will need to be the ones, or you'll need to be the ones as a student to call and get that resolved. All students are given a wallawalla.edu email address. So it would be your username, as you can see, firstname.last@wallawalla.edu would be your email. And it's important that you check this regularly. So like I said, if you can't log into MyWU or MyWU, don't have that set up or forgot the password, give computer support a call, because the email is what we want you to check regularly, because once classes begin, that's likely the only email address the university will send email to, and that's the primary one that financial services will send information about loans or about disbursements or refunds from your account. One thing you might be seeing on your to-do list right now is financial clearance. So let's transition to a slide to talk about financial clearance, what that is, what students should be working on right now in terms of finances. And as I do that, I will click the share button. So you should have access throughout this presentation to download the slides we are using right now. So if you haven't finished your financial aid application, that involves a FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and then the university's graduate student financial aid application. Certainly do that immediately or as soon as you can. Right now, we're able to respond to you with your award letter, typically within a couple of days of you submitting your application as an accepted student. But as we get closer to school starting, that delay time will increase. So get that in sooner rather than later to make sure there's no issues and you're not dropped from any classes. If we are missing anything from you for this process, it will be on the to-do list we just mentioned in MyWU. If you have questions about financial clearance, would like to know more depth about that process, I recommend watching a recording of the presentation we did a couple weeks ago about the process. They cover everything in detail there, but to quickly review, financial clearance is a process that all students go through each quarter, and it checks to make sure that you've made necessary down payment and completed any necessary forms for financial aid, like I said, loans or payment plans that you may be wanting to set up. The process is open right now for fall quarter. And so you have, if you haven't completed it yet, now is a good time to do so. It's pretty straightforward process and shouldn't take much time. This is first time for many of you. It will take a little bit longer because most students will have loan forms like to complete, promissory notes, and permissions to review. But after you make your down payment, it's about a 90-second process. The deadline to complete financial clearance is 4 p.m. on the Wednesday before classes begin. So do modify that September 18th note to say September 9th is when financial clearance is, September 9th at 4 p.m. If you do not have financial clearance by then, you will be dropped from your classes, and you can know for sure that you're done with financial clearance when you see Bouncing Ben, that kind of dollar bill looking guy down there. When you see Bouncing Ben, that week of the quarter. So if there is qualified expenses that you're taking out additional money for, or have refund or disbursements coming to you, third week of the quarter is when you'll start to see those being processed. But some students may have borrowed additional money, like I said, for living expenses, and need access to that money sooner. And this is something that you will handle during the financial clearance process. And I'm going to go through the questions that you'll be asked here briefly. Let me see. Maybe not yet. So that you'll be asked. In the presentation we did about financial aid or financial clearance, we talked about an envelope that new students will be getting from Bank Mobile. It is this slide. Perfect. That's the bank we use to disperse funds to students. So first, when you get the green envelope from Bank Mobile or emails they send, you want to log into their website. That is legit email. and tell them how you want to get your funds. You can have them send a paper check. You can deposit it into an existing bank account, which is a quick option, or use a bank mobile checking account if you may not have one. Also, during the financial clearance process, on the permissions page, you can select when you want your funds sent, as soon as it's available, at a specific time, if that's more helpful, or we can hold it until you request it. You will be also asked if you want an emergency draw. So you're asked this regardless of how you answered the previous question. You can get half of your projected credit, up to $500, on the first day of classes to help cover immediate expenses. If you asked us to send your money as soon as it is available, that's all you need to do. If you told us that you wanted to indicate a specific time, you'll be asked if you were ready to request funds and can specify amount and date during financial clearance, or you can get that to us later. We can't send the money before we receive it, so it's going to be sometime during the third week of classes. And in addition to this process, we also have credit balance request form on our website that you can use to request funds from your account. And for some additional information and the credit balance refund form, you can go to sfs.wallawalla.edu. Most of you as graduate students should be working with Carrie Butler, the financial counselor for graduate students, but many of them have a wealth of knowledge, have been with us for a long time in financial services. So really, whoever you get to speak with will be able to help you. All right, I want to go over a few things that now that you should have completed. So one, important, if you still need to sign up for classes, you should contact your advisor to finalize your academic plan. Once that plan is finalized, your advisor will send your academic plan to the Office of Graduate Studies, and then you will be enrolled. Usually it's a fairly quick process. Sometimes it may take 2 to 4 days at the most, but usually it's a pretty quick process. Make sure to do that first. And if you were accepted into the graduate program with courses still in progress as an undergraduate or finishing up somewhere else, or you just sent us a kind of unofficial transcript for your admissions process, we will need your final transcript. So if you haven't done that, do this as soon as possible. Without this, your loan disbursement will be affected and you will have difficulty with financial clearance. I believe most of you have done this, but you can always check on your to-do list, or you can email me or Graduate Studies if you're unsure. You should double check to make sure there are no outstanding items or holds on your to-do list. So once you are enrolled, make sure that registration finalization, including financial clearance, has been completed. And you'll know you've completed registration finalization when you see the jumping Einstein character. Registration finalization is a process to ensure really that you've completed all the necessary items to be enrolled at the university. You can complete the process through the Student Center in MyWU. Registration finalization means that all to-do items, holds, enrollment and financial clearance have been completed. And when you finish this process, you'll see that jumping Einstein, like I mentioned. Another important thing is ID cards. Some of you will be joining us maybe on campus, and others may be remote learning with us or online. ID card process is changing this year, and it's typically handled by the records office. They may still be able to help out some, but it is trying to transition to the IT department. So there will be more details coming. For those who need ID cards, we'll be accessing campus information or campus buildings, as well as just those that would wish to have an ID card. It's a cool thing to pull out and show that you have your ID card for a university, even as a graduate student. Also, you can utilize it for discounts at local businesses that offer such. We're planning that you'll be able to submit a photo of yourself for review, and if accepted, it will allow us to print a card using supplied photo and get it delivered to you. Also, you can have ID cards created by getting a photo taken at your respective campus. Montana students will have to wait for cards to be mailed to their campus, as the processing machine is through the main campus in Washington. So if you want it to be mailed to the campus and that's where you'd rather pick it up, we can certainly look at doing so. But your WWU student ID card can be used for the cafeteria on the main campus, the bookstore, the Express, which on main campus is the Shell gas station, has a kind of little mini mart in there, also has a vegetarian grill. You can get great smoothies in there, coffee as well, kind of pick up and go if you're around the area. The gym also you can access, library, and pretty much any building on the College Place campus or on your respective campus will use that ID card to allow you entry to that. So that will be important, at least for out of kind of normal business hours. You'll definitely need to be able to use that to access buildings if you're on the approved list to do so. You might be able to use it, like I said, at local businesses as well, if they offer a discount with valid student ID. All right, so this slide was just going to apply to our College Place students. Sorry, Montana students. We'll have the next slide that will also be applicable to you, but this one is for housing options in College Place. We have a number of apartments for students as well as houses for families. These are made available on a first come, first served basis. So if you have not made housing arrangements and you would like to utilize university owned places to be able to charge them to like your student account, or that's just where you prefer to live, you can begin the process at wallawalla.edu/village, which is highlighted there in yellow. And you can complete an application and we'll add you to the wait list. And they'll also be able to answer any questions that you may have pertaining to housing or do a virtual tour through the website. Or possibly some houses through FaceTime or Microsoft Teams. Whether you live on campus or not, though, regardless of which campus you're on, all of our students are automatically enrolled in a system called Omni Alert, formerly called E2 Campus, if you're familiar with that elsewhere. But this is our emergency campus alert system. In an emergency, students will receive alerts via text messages and emails. And in addition, our campus siren will or may sound. Parents or spouses are able to opt in to also receive these alerts by providing their contact info at the link at the bottom there, wallawalla.edu/omni alert, and they will receive the same messages as our students. Oftentimes, this is highly applicable on the main campus with lots of different activity going on. But while parents and spouses can elect to receive the information about emergency situations, there is some info that we can't share with them and that may not go to them. All right, so spouses of graduate students sometimes want to know information about the student or their student, the student account, such as account balance, grades, and how much the student has borrowed, etc. However, the university cannot share this kind of information with anyone except you, the student. And that's what that FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act is conveying. It's a federal law and commonly referred to, as I mentioned, as FERPA. And there it lists what specific permissions on MyWU we can tell them. So this law applies to all areas of campus, but it's primarily with finances that you most often run into this issue. We need to have your permission as a student before we can talk to anyone else about your account. It's easy for you to grant permission. On MyWU, you can tell us who we can talk to, who we should mail a statement to, who should send email reminders to, and who we should or not talk to. You can also choose to have statements mailed to multiple people if you'd like. If your parents are in a different state and you'd like them, if they're helping out with your education, to also get a statement. You can authorize other users to see electronic statements as well. This is also why no one else can call to reset your password. Because of FERPA, computer support can only reset passwords if you, the student, contacts them. So that's really important to keep in mind. All right, so a topic you probably are all familiar with at this point, since we started hearing about COVID-19, back in March or prior in 2019, if you were staying up with world news. But along with state and local health officials and CDC guidelines, WWU has developed a 14-point prevention plan to help keep our community and students and faculty and staff safe. This is focused on student, school, community safety. I encourage you to take some time to familiarize yourself with the information for when you may be visiting campus. If you're not visiting campus at all, much less than a need to worry about this information. But in case you do, you will want to be prepared and familiarize yourself. Our campus advisors will also be doing their best to make sure incoming students are aware and know what to expect. Some key takeaways, as you can see, number one, masks. Face coverings are required on campus. Anytime you do visit campus in a public area, including classrooms, we would ask that masks be on. You should have some of your own. I imagine probably by now most of us do, but the university is looking to try and supply students, faculty, and staff with a limited number of reusable cloth masks to wear, like I said, on campus, outside of personal living spaces, in accordance with state regulations. Cloth ones should be used one day and then washed. If you're using a disposable, it's just meant for that one time or day use and then to be discarded. You're welcome to supply your own well-fitting cloth masks as well, or if you want to use like a neck gaiter or something like that, you can certainly do those as well, or bandana, some type of covering is what we're expecting. If you are on campus or in classes with others, social distancing, we'd ask to be practiced. Please practice social distancing that is of 6 feet or more whenever possible. I know many of our campuses will have signage in high traffic areas as just a reminder of kind of the spacing of 6 feet to help you make that judgment of where to stand and just be respectful of everyone that you're encountering and interacting with on that. Also, those of you visiting campus or when your classes happen to be in person, daily health screening reporting will be needed. There's self-evaluation screenings for symptoms that will be submitted daily by students, faculty, and staff via a convenient app. And I believe that is called Safer Me app. Temperature screening will be provided daily as well for faculty, staff, and students. And contact tracing will be implemented for students, faculty, and staff via an app. I believe contact tracing is charged off of Bluetooth or how far or how long you may be in proximity to another user for health officials, should they need to, that our COVID director will have access to inform those people of potential need to get tested or to quarantine and just check their symptoms and monitor those. And if you do have more questions about these, you want to go into more detail about that 14-point plan I mentioned, the link at the bottom, wallawalla.edu/coronavirus would be the spot to go. That is constantly updated as the situation continues to evolve and state and government agencies give us more information or make different guidelines for us to follow. That information and page will be updated regularly. There's also an FAQ, or if you're concerned, may need a accommodation for the face masks, you can certainly fill out an accommodation form there as well through that link that asks some information. You can also upload any doctor or other recommendations there as well for consideration. All right, we're getting closer to the end here. Those who are all the topics we planned primarily for this evening, but you can see a full list here of the steps to enrollment at wallawalla.edu/new steps. And if you click on the graduate students, there's one for international, Canada, as well as US. So click the applicable one for your group, and then you'll be able to see all the items. Primarily under step 1 should be all the ones that you guys have completed so far. as the attendees who were invited to this meeting. And then step 2 and beyond might be helpful information, but you can recap all the steps in a structured summary of everything that we covered today. It gives instructions as well for how to complete each of those and what information to look forward to or plan after you've been accepted. You're always welcome as well to call us. Love to chat with you. If you're not sure who to contact, just send an email to myself, or you can call me at, I'll leave my information in the chat box, but for those who may need it verbally, 509-527-2290 is the office phone number. Reminder for those of you who are MSW students attending this webinar tonight, classes will start for MSW students September 21st, and all other programs will begin September 14th. And those of you for social work masters in College Place or Missoula, you should have received an email noting that you will be starting online for the fall quarter. And Billings MSW students will be in a limited hybrid format, only meeting on campus in Billings. There are smaller campuses as well, much lower cases there. They'll be meeting during weeks 3, 6, and 9. And you should get more information from your department and advisors as you continue and get closer to the beginning of the school year. So here, let me maybe shrink my video size a little bit. So there is important telephone numbers listed here on this screen. Walla Walla University toll-free number. Of course, you can give that a call anytime. That is usually staffed all throughout the day. And that's the main important number to call to get you connected to any department you need. And like I said, if you're not sure what or who your question should go to, which department would be best to answer that, you can give the 800 number a call and they will do their best to help route you towards the correct department. But academic advisement, I would say the next important one after the toll-free for most of you will be computer support. You'll probably rely on them pretty heavily, like I said, to access the MyWU, or if you haven't accessed it, maybe you were accepted a while back and were on a wait list last year and got moved to this year. By this point in time, I think it may be safe to say you've probably forgotten the password, or maybe even never set that up. So give computer support a call or send them an email, and they'll be able to help you with that. Enrollment services, you can certainly give a call. That's kind of the division I'm under. And then you have housing, student success, as well as the university clinic if you're on the College Place campus. All right, and I did mention some previous workshops too that we did, such as the financial clearance process and others. That should have been in the email I sent you, but you can also watch recordings of our summer presentations on IGTV, so Instagram TV, or wallawalla.edu/workshops, and get the links to the recordings there. All right, so I will go to the chat box and start answering some of the questions we have there. Looks like a few came in. So let me see here. We have, I have to read through them first before I announce them, just to make sure if it's private, I'll have to respond to that later. But if you guys do have questions for me, questions about starting, this fall or your format, please go ahead and put those in the chat box, and I will get to them as soon as possible. I believe it starts at the bottom, so give me a moment as I look through the chat box here to address those. So one is if you have a credit balance, so balance on your student account, can we keep that? I'm reading into it. Can we keep that if you maybe don't want that or don't want to access it right now? Yes, we can certainly hold on to it for you and keep it. If it happens to be on there for a long time and say you graduate and you still have the balance and you don't necessarily contact us to do something, it will stay there for, I'm not sure how long, but for quite a while. But you can, of course, if it's still on there after you graduate and you don't want it still, you can have it, moved, kind of pay it forward to put onto another student who is in need that might need that money. But yeah, if you have a credit balance, we can hold on to it and you can get it later in the quarter. Or we can look to apply it to the next quarter's payment, down payment, if you were able to have some additional funds now. Another good thing is that some students may want to start a payment plan early to pay a little bit out of pocket to try and either limit the loans they take, or if you are paying out of pocket, to just kind of space the payments out. So you can certainly start making payments now if you have a little bit you want to set aside for this month, and then start next month you may have a couple. You can certainly do that now and maybe do every other week, or once a month. You can continue that process throughout the quarter and throughout the year. You just have to make sure by the time financial clearance needs to be completed, as well as before classes begin, that all down payment, anything for that quarter's due amount, is taken care of. Looks like some of you did not get information related to the MSW format. So I believe that was sent out to all students, but I could be mistaken. Maybe that was sent out initially to College Place, and then it is continuing through to other campuses. But that information we had to wait for a while for interaction with multiple agencies, as well as a regional accreditor and the Council on Social Work Education, just to make sure there wasn't to be any issue and that we maintained our above board standards in relation to accreditation. And for Billings campus, like I mentioned, those are planning to meet currently during weeks 3, 6, and 9. So I think the first meeting is like October 5th would be the first Monday that you'd have to be on campus. So I do see Terry and some others with question about that. All right, when should you reach out to IT about getting ID cards? Well, you can certainly reach out really at any point and ask them. I know they weren't prepared yet to start handling those. I will do my best to try and get a timeline. There's been, with this 2020 school year and lots of things that have been thrown at us, there's been multiple planning, as well as them to try and fit some higher tech classrooms here in need as we prepare for dual modality for undergraduates, as well as some online options and expanding different varieties that we may need for utilizing technology. So IT is pretty busy, but reach out, send an email, ask them kind of when timeframe might be for you to get an ID card. And that might be the best way. So that way they're just familiar with how many students may be interested and can give you some information. We'll get that onto our website as soon as we can and have some more details from them though. If you need help, okay, we have another question. If you need help on a Grad Plus loan, but didn't apply for one initially, can you apply for one mid-quarter? That is a great question. Yes, you could. It does take time to process, so it just depends on how comfortable you feel with your current situation and whether you think you may need those funds, sooner. Then you might want to just go ahead and apply for that now, because you can always choose what amount of loans you accept, as well whether to decline any loans that are offered to you. So I usually recommend students just go through the whole FAFSA process, ask for the additional loans. You get that, you can talk with the financial advisor about what you need, and you might be able to hold it off a little bit later. But once you go through that, start that process, just work with your student financial services advisor or a team member there regarding kind of Grad Plus loan and some of your additional options. All right, I see some responding to some of the answers I provide for their questions. Is it required to have the Safer Me app in order to be on campus? Great question. We are looking at as well designated spots. If you don't have a smartphone, maybe don't choose not to install it. Suppose there's a variety of situations and responses to that. Yes, there will be a check-in process where we will have to kind of, I believe, manually take a kind of a thermometer temperature reading. It'll usually be one of those forehead ones like you've seen maybe at doctor's offices you've been to. But yeah, it's not required, but you would need to, as you enter campus, there'll be a couple designated spots. On Montana campuses, it's fairly easy because it's a much smaller place. You would go to the front door, or you'd let your kind of the advisor there, Angela Schwab from Missoula or Sheila for Billings, and just say, hey, where do I meet you? It should be just inside the building. Their desk is pretty much right there. And you can meet them and go through the steps just to do quick symptom check, temperature reading, and when you're on campus there. On main campus, there will be a few different places. Campus safety may be able to help with that. Those details will be pushed online, as well as I believe they will be sent out to all students here in the next few weeks. But of course, the main administration building on campus, you'll be able to come there and get that information taken for you, so that way you can have that confirmed. Let's see. Okay, what about a community scheduled on Tuesdays in Billings? Okay, Terry, that is a great question. I think this one may have stumped me. I am not too familiar about community scheduled on Tuesdays in Billings. Certainly work with Pam Bing Perry, who's the director there for that campus, as well as Sheila Doctor. Sheila should have sent you and registered you for classes if you've been in contact with her as the advisor, at least initially. So contact her if you have questions about community scheduled on Tuesdays in Billings. Typically, community is a program that we have for main campus that will be online. So it could be possible that you, at least or it's being looked at in a variety of different formats to be offered. So maybe it accidentally got onto your schedule. But work with Sheila Doctor. She'll be able to answer more questions related to the community scheduling. And if any of you from Billings do have that on your schedule, certainly ask her if you're unfamiliar with what that is. Typically, it's a time on campus where we've brought in national well-known speakers or speakers on religious topics. Sometimes it's faculty that will get up there and talk for community. So normally it's on our main campus. On Tuesdays, I think like 11 to 11:40 or so, when they'll have that. And typically it's only required of undergraduate students. So I wouldn't worry about it if it is on your schedule, but just double check with them. All right, perfect. Well, you guys are very welcome for those. We do have some other questions kind of rolling in here, and I'll be on for a few more minutes. If you've gotten all the information you need, you can certainly feel free to sign off. Let me send my contact information. You should have it, but just in case, I will list that there in the chat box. You should be able to go over and highlight it. If you're on a mobile device, no worries. You should have gotten my email that has all the contact information as well. And a link to MyWU as well. That would be the spot where you'd go to to check your student account balance and sign in. But if you don't have the password or login yet, or didn't set that up, definitely get in contact with IT, take a look through your emails, and you should be able to find that information. But if it's been a while, definitely get in contact there with computer support, and they'll be able to help you. All right, I think we had some other questions here. let's see. Okay. One was, I think, about classes. So online, if what software will we use for online classes, and do we need, a mic or webcam setup? Those of you that will be in online courses will primarily use the Microsoft suite. That's what we are, the ecosystem we're in as a university. So Microsoft Teams will be the product for online classes. There may be occasion where a Zoom or something else might be utilized, and particularly in our education program, those courses will sometimes use Google Hangouts or Meets just because that's what you might be using as a teacher in some schools. But a working webcam or microphone will be required, and classes listed, if you're looking online, or maybe it lists on your schedule as like ARR for arranged. That means it's online, but there's not like a set time and day you must meet. Others will say online with kind of the day and time. So even if, say, you are, either starting online or the program's online, you want to pay attention to the syllabus as well as your class schedule for the day and time that it's saying the class meets. So even if it's online, say Monday from 8 to 10:50, you'll want to be in front of your computer or on your mobile device that has Teams and microphone as well as webcam available to utilize and participate fully in those courses. So other classes, like I mentioned, list day and time, but just keep open if you do have questions or even can't make it. I understand there's things with schedule that comes up, family emergencies, that you need to take care of, lots of different things, maybe even too sick to pull up the class and try and participate if you are online. Either way, just let your professor know first that you won't be able to make it, and then if you can, contact like the campus department, just to let them know that hey, won't be able to make it. If you can provide a reasoning, that's sometimes helpful, but it's not needed. And typically for most students, at least one unexcused absence a quarter is usually allowed, but always work with your professor. That way they can get you the homework assignment and make sure that you get any important information from the class as well. Connect with your peers. Maybe you have friends taking it, or you start to chat and connect with some people through the online chats or papers that you have to submit, or classes that you do, and ask them to take notes and fill you in on important stuff that you missed. All right, when do syllabi typically become available, and when should we purchase textbooks? Great question, Jessica. Syllabi don't technically have to be available until, I believe, like that Monday of classes beginning. Usually they will be on there some point the week before, or the Friday before. Some will put it up on Sunday, but they'll all definitely be available by that Monday morning. If for some reason it's not, connect with a professor for that class and ask them if they can email you a syllabi. That would be really helpful. But when should you purchase textbooks? As soon as you have your classes, you can search our website under the bookstore. You can type in the course number and maybe sequence of that course that you may be taking, and you can find the textbook information. It may be a great price to utilize our bookstore. The books can be sent to you wherever you are, so don't worry about that. And so you can certainly utilize there, or at least you can grab the ISBN number and then search Amazon or Chegg.com, wherever you'd like to source your textbooks at, you can do so. And also, I'd recommend checking the libraries if you're looking to save some money. Sometimes libraries will have the required reading. If you don't want to buy that book, they may even have some of the textbook type books that are being used. So check there as well. But you can rent, you can buy new or used. Lots of varieties are available to you as a graduate student to source your books. So you can do that as soon as you have your classes, really. And if you do want textbook information, you can also email your advisor to send that information to you in an email. Yeah, so great question. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'm still to be on here, so if you have more questions that come to mind, certainly enter those in the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer those out loud. And if you are joining us and have not registered yet for classes, when you're accepted to the program, which I believe all of you are or should be, and haven't talked yet to your academic advisor, do that right away. A lot of our emails before school starts only go to enrolled students, and it likely went to your university email, as we start utilizing that right away pretty much once you're accepted. So that's why it's important, if you haven't already, to contact computer support and get access to MyWU, or look through the email if you've been kind of recently accepted, and look for instructions to set up your MyWU account. And you'll finalize your academic plan with your advisor, and then they will get that to Graduate Studies Office. Usually it's a pretty quick turnaround for us to get those entered and to reflect on your online account. All right, yeah, you can, if you are looking as well, want to go back through the past kind of workshops we've done, you can do wallawalla.edu/workshops and be able to see information there. You should still have that slide kind of file should still be shared, so if you want to download that, you can do so. But I think we may have answered all the questions for tonight. I see several people we're pretty much down to half the amount of attendees we were. So for those of you still with us, we'd love your feedback. Tell us what you think. You can go to wallawalla.edu/comment or grad-comment. And you can also find, like I said, more guides at wallawalla.edu/workshops. But I thank you so much for attending. We would love to know what you thought, what you'd like included maybe next time, or what we can do better, of course. And if you think of something you forgot to ask, always give us a call. The office to Graduate Studies is 509-527-2421. And you can email grad.studies@wallawalla.edu if that's a little bit easier to remember. But big thank you to everyone. Thank you for taking your time out and joining me, and for joining our Graduate Studies community. I do wish you guys all the best, and look forward to you joining our alumni family, and as many before you have done, have shared their wonderful time and education that they earned at Walla Walla University with future people looking at graduate programs, sometimes colleagues, friends. That's very, very helpful. Also, we'll be working on hopefully a kind of a gift to welcome you during this interesting fall 2020 year. So stay tuned for email announcement, probably coming from myself, about that here before classes begin. But I hope this was helpful. Sounds like it was to most of you through the chat. So thank you so much. Have a good night, and we'll be in touch more, and reach out to us with any questions you have. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.